Hello everyone and welcome back to Game Brigade. My name is Brian. Thank you for watching me. If you are new here, I welcome you to the community. Remember to hit that subscribe button and smash the like button. Today on the show, we are talking about God's Heist from Titan Noir. Now, these are the guys that produced Assassin's Creed and V-Sabotage. And when I saw this kind of being announced as a crowdfunding game, I was excited to hear what they were about. So I emailed them and said, I would like to check out this game. They sent me a prototype, and I'm here to kind of talk about what this is, because I want to make sure you guys have a really good idea of how this game works so that you can make the best backing decision going forward. Now, this will launch on crowdfunding on GameFound on October 22nd. And as of right now, there is a free gift if you follow on GameFound. That's very common. So if you're wanting a free gift, if this is something you're kind of thinking about backing and you're not sure, you just want to follow it, make sure you follow before the campaign launches. That way you can secure yourself that free gift. So without further ado, I think it's time we can talk about how this game works and let you know what it is. Okay, so God's Heist is kind of a dungeon crawl game, adventure game, with a little bit of legacy light experiences in there. So we're going to talk about how that all works, but let's kind of talk about the mechanics of this game. So God's Heist is a game where you are going to be diving into these catacombs of these fallen gods, and you are eventually trying to secure loot or treasure and get out before you are captured by the guards, these draconoid kind of alligator dragon guys who are still kind of patrolling this area. And you are some of these adventurers, these expedition guys, who are going in to secure that loot. Now, there is a expeditions book that you will have. Now, remember, this is a prototype, so everything that I have is subject to change, and I suspect there'll be a lot more expeditions for you to go on. And there'll be a continual adventure as well that maybe has some sort of narrative campaign. I'm not quite sure, but I do know things carry forward from each expedition. But you will select one of the expeditions, and they'll have kind of a introduction of what you're doing, and then a main goal. It'll tell you what you're going to try to do. It also explains how you're going to set up each of the types of maps that you're going to be dealing with. So it tells you how you're going to shuffle up different maps, because you have a bunch of these different one-sided maps with different types of logos and whatnot. And they'll tell you to gather certain numbers and make sure you have certain ones included for the specific expedition that you're going on. And then from there, you are going to create your deck. You're potentially going to get some different types of loot items that you can spend your gold on, especially as you've collected gold from going deeper in the expeditions and collecting more loot and gold. You can have definitely more purchasing power with this. And then you're going to choose a side quest from the side quest. Well, you're going to draw a side quest. It's going to give you a side quest that you're going to adventure on. And then you're also going to have a challenge, because you will eventually be leveling up in this game, giving yourself a little bit more chances of succeeding in the skill check session. Now, this game is very much a skill check based game. And we're going to talk about that now as we dive in closer here to the player boards, or the board. We talk about how the mechanics actually work. So you are going to be one of these characters, and you're going to spawn in on usually one of the maps. Most of these maps are going to unrevealed. I'm kind of midway through a play here. And you are going to be spawning in on one of these locations, and sometimes there'll be dragonoids, depending on their spawn point, located here on the board. And on the map, there are little checks here that have a dice that shows a different colored die. They represent the different types of die that you can roll and what kind of success rate you need to roll. Now, at the start of the game, you'll be rolling a D6. Now, you can level that up when you complete a specific challenge that you have drawn to eventually go up to a D8, a D10, and I believe a D12 at the end of the run. So you can definitely get stronger there. But whenever you're making these checks, you are going to be rolling dice and using your cards to augment them. So let's kind of talk about them and check out what a card looks like and kind of give you an anatomy of a card so you have an idea what you're looking at. So here we're looking at Draka's rock throwing card. At the very top of the card, you're going to see a circle with a +1, and that is the bonus that you can get when you discard this card for a check. So if you're going to be doing a test and you want to use, kind of get a better chance of succeeding, you can discard this card from your readied area, which you only have 4 ready each round. You can discard that card for that bonus. So this gives you a +1. Alternatively, you are able to play this card actively in the game, depending on if the conditions meet it. So here it says, if there's a Draconoid in your line of sight, which in this situation there is, you can complete a test, and the test is a +4. So again, you would roll your dice. In this situation, it'd be a d6. And if we get a 4+, so it means a 4, 5, or a 6, we would be successful, which means we would add a collapse token, basically a falling rock, on top of the space of our opponent. If we were unsuccessful, we would add a collapse token in an adjacent space to that Draconoid. So let's kind of take a look here at this specific example. We're actually going to swap characters real quick because this is actually my character Draka. And if I wanted to go ahead and do that, and I want to play this card from my hand, of my available 4 cards, I need to complete a 4+. Now, I don't really like my odds right now of rolling a 4+ on this. I would like to make it a little better. So I'm going to discard my carrier card to my discard. It's going to give me a +1, and then we'll go and roll. And here I rolled a 1 plus my +1, which is a 2, so I failed this test. So I'm going to go ahead and add a collapse token adjacent to my opponent that I was attempting to throw that at, and then this card will go to my discard. Now I only have 2 more cards available to me for the rest of this round, and we'll continue our play. Now, in terms of the play and the way this game works, it's kind of an interesting aspect, and maybe I should have talked about this a little bit more because there's kind of a lot of layers here going on. But the way the turn structure is designed in God's Heist is kind of a fluid nature that it changes round to round. So there is an action deck of cards here where you are going to be drawing the top card of the action deck, and that's going to tell you whose current action is going to, kind of go. So if we reveal the top card, it's actually Draka, my character, and I have an option. It's either or. So I can do 2 moves or attack. So in this situation, I can attack my opponent that's right in front of me because we are connected and in range, or I can move 2. Now, I am unable to move through Draconoids, and there's no other connected spaces adjacent to me, so I cannot do that. So I will do the attack, and we're just going to play this out. So I'll discard that attack, and I'm going to do it. Now, alternatively, while we're talking about it, I could save this and put it in my hand of 4 available cards. Because I only have 2 in my hand, I can hold this for later, because we could then try our luck and see if maybe my ally goes, or maybe I go and I can kind of get some additional bonus actions. So for example, if I went again on the action deck, kind of taking a risk, the Draconoid would actually go. We're going to save that though. We're going to show how an attack works. So the attack works very similar. We're going to engage this Draconoid in front of us. And again, we are going to be doing a dice check here, but we're going to be going against our opponent, our Draconoid, who rolls a d10. And we need to get higher than that d10. So what I'm going to do, we're using this obviously to attack, and I'm going to discard my bandage because I have no wounds yet for a +1. And we're going to hope that I roll better than this Draconoid. So I rolled a 6 with a +1, and the Draconoid rolled a 7. So in the event of a tie, which is kind of random in this situation, nothing would happen. It would kind of be a stalemate. Maybe we clash swords and nothing hit. But let's say I didn't roll that. Let's say the Draconoid rolled a 6, just so we can continue with the example here. We'll say a 4. So in this situation, if the Draconoid hit a 4, we would actually neutralize the Draconoid, lay him down. He's not dead yet. He can actually come back into the game. But if we were able to either like land on him and block his movement, there are ways that we can remove him from the board. So now that I've taken my turn, we've drawn an action, I don't want to play any more of my personal cards. My ally could choose to play cards if they wanted to. It's again fluid in terms of you are creating the actions as you go. We will continue. So in this situation, we would draw a Draconoid action card. And it says Interception. Draw 1 Draconoid's activation card. So then you have this entire deck here of Draconoid's interceptions. Now there's multiple different versions of cards that you can get. There are 2 types. Some of them are just straight interceptions, which kind of give you a little bit of flavor of what's happening. So in this situation, it says the Draconoid doesn't hesitate for a second. You are hunted, and he attacks you with -2. So we'll give that to our ally up here. They are now hunted, and this Draconoid here is going to attack them, but they're going to get -2 to their roll. My ally is just going to roll it. They unfortunately took the damage, so they would draw a wound card where I had my wounds. Here they are. And we would take that wound card and slide it underneath their character sheet to indicate that they've taken a damage. And then after that, again, we would continue playing the game, drawing an additional action card. Now it's Draka's turn. So Draka now gets to go. And you kind of repeat this process of playing cards from your hand of your 4 available, or doing the actions on the action cards, eventually trying to move and collect different types of loot, eventually trying to uncover where the goal is here on the map, where your objective is for the actual expedition campaign that you're doing, or any side quests that you're trying to accomplish. So the round ends when all of the action cards have been played, so that way everyone has taken equal amount of turns. There are 3 action cards per hero, and depending on the scenario, you will shuffle in a different amount of the Draconoid action cards. The first scenario, you only put 2 in, but there could be more depending on other scenarios that you play, kind of balancing the game from there. Now, once everyone has drawn cards from the action deck, and we've kind of gone through this, we will shuffle it up and start a new round, and you will actually draw up to 4 new cards back into your hand so you can continue playing. Now, so the game is a dungeon crawl. You are moving through this dungeon, eventually uncovering new tiles, trying to discover hidden treasures that you can eventually loot, looking for these red icons, which indicate that that can be a goal for you to complete, and side quests, because remember, everything that you are completing in this game, you are going to carry forward for you. So let's say, for example, we actually ended here and we did collect the resource. We're going to go ahead and draw 2 of these loot cards that are going to give us, I dropped the wrong one. We're going to draw 2 of the loot cards, and we can choose one. So I'm going to choose this one. That's going to go into my deck. And then the other one is actually going to get archived, and it's gone for good. It's going to be locked away. It's not going to be able to complete it again. And then based on the expedition we're doing, we will draw an alarm card, which kind of indicates that the alarm has been sounded or something's triggered. So in this case, it says you hear a piercing sound of a horn sounding the alarm. It won't be long before the place is overrun by Draconoids. Replace the Draconoid's D10 with a D12 instead. So I would grab this D12. We're going to replace that D10. Place this card at the bottom of the action deck. At the end of each game turn, add 1 Draconoid action card to the action deck. So we would go ahead and place this down here. And every time we take an action, we're going to be putting more Draconoid cards in there. So the Draconoids are just going to overwhelm us. And now our goal is to try to get out the way we came in. And both players are going to try to, move their way through the board, navigating their way through the Draconoids, trying to get their actions, which again, because it's shuffled up, you don't know who's going to go first this time. So now we have an actual Draconoid activation or another Draconoid activation. So the players are going to have to kind of deal with this fluid change of the game state constantly shifting in front of them as they try to solve the puzzle of each of the challenges. Now, there are different types of difficulty that you can play this with. I believe the designer said to start your first game on hard, and then you could scale it down based on your enjoyment level or the difficulty level. So on some of these interception cards, there will be a track on here that says easy, medium, and difficult. On an easy, you will only do the easy mode. On medium, you will do the easy plus the medium. And then hard, you'll do all 3. You'll do the easy mode, then the medium mode, and then finish it with the hard mode. So that way we'll kind of scale the difficulty and what these Draconoids do to kind of make the game a little bit more complex. So that's really the rough explanation of how this game operates, I kind of want to talk about some of my experiences playing this game. I played this solo and I played with a friend as well to kind of get a good feel of it. Really, I think the core enjoyment for this game is going to come down to someone who really likes that fluid combat nature of the diving into the catacombs, exploring, and trying to solve the puzzle of your available action cards, as well as what is going to pop up in the action deck. I think that was a real challenge, and I like the idea that when we escape and we kind of get out of here, that we are continuing our adventure with our hero, with all of our own equipment that we've gathered, everything that we've kind of taken through. Sometimes we've lost stuff if we used it. If I used a smoke bomb and it says to return that back to the deck, to the deck in the box, then I only get that at one-time use. You kind of have to really plan through your actions and work with your team to kind of solve the problems. Now, I mentioned that there's some levels up. I talked about these challenge cards that you can get, or some of these side quests that can get you additional equipment. But say like the challenge here, it says, with 2 Marauders, I need to have no loot tokens on 3+ tile. And those loot tokens are these blue kind of circles. So we would have to make sure we cleared at least 3 tiles fully of all the loot before we could complete this. And once we do, you level up. We will draw a new challenge card to replace it, and then our dice will replace with a 6-sided dice, or the 8-sided dice. So we'll kind of get better and have better odds of completing some of these challenges. I think that's a really cool idea. I like the fluidity of this kind of adventure dungeon crawl game, and I'm curious to see where it goes to, like how deep into the expedition you can go to, and kind of what some of the decks that you will kind of build with your individual dungeoner that you've made. I think that's really interesting. And the replayability of that would come from trying a different dungeoner in a new, because they have all different types of play styles in terms of what their cards do. For example, my Draka girl here really likes being hunted and wounded. She kind of hits harder in that regard. So you kind of playing that thin line of, I want to take damage. I'm okay taking a little bit of damage and okay having being hunted, but that also makes you more vulnerable to your opponents, and being able to risk yourself being knocked out and eliminated is a risk. So I kind of enjoyed that kind of gameplay aspect. There's some characters that are more supportive. There's some characters that deal with more magic. So you kind of can find different types of play style based on the characters you want to play. And again, every time you play through, even though some of the expeditions might be similar plays, because of the dynamic nature of the way this game is designed, with a whole aspect of decks and cards to go through, it's going to give you a really kind of interesting new element of the gameplay. Now, if you see here, whoa, it kind of looks like a bit of a mess because I have cards everywhere. There's going to be an organizer that's part of this game. So you're actually going to have like a box organizer. All this would be in that. So kind of have to understand that, you know, this looks more scattered and messy than an actual gameplay. What I would recommend is kind of ignore all this, because really this game is a very tight and clean game. And I also appreciated while watching the designers kind of gameplay of this game, where he talked about how they kind of condensed it to 6 tiles because they could have played more. Like they played with the idea of having a bunch of tiles for you to explore and go through, but it just made the game sessions go long. And so they thought, you know, if we reduce them to 6, you still get the experience of the actual dungeon dive, but it keeps them in a nice condensed time limit of, you know, about an hour, maybe a little hour, or like hour and a quarter, hour and a half. And I thought that was pretty accurate based on my experiences playing the game. So there's a lot of like here. I think it's a fun game. I'm curious to see more. I'm excited to see what the campaign actually looks like. Maybe see if there's any other characters that are spoiled from the ones that I saw. And maybe if there's any type of expansions with different types of expeditions. I think that'd be kind of cool to check out. I would like to hear what your guys' thoughts are on this one. Leave me a comment in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. And again, my name is Brian from Game Brigade. If you have any questions, comments, let me know in the comment section down below. And with that, I will talk to you very soon.